Hello, hello. Come on in. Welcome, everybody. It's Thursday. You know, I do my lives with Whitman-Walker every Thursday, so come on in. We got a special live today. Hello, hello. Come on in, everyone. Hello, Brendan. How are you?
Good, Orlando. How are you doing today?
Oh, hanging in there. I could finally relax a little bit.
Yeah, good.
So ready for the weekend.
Me too, brother. Me too.
All right. Thank you for coming, everyone. It's Thursday Lives with Whitman Walker. Today we have a special live honoring our long-term survivors of HIV. So come on in. We're going to be talking about a couple things. June 5th is the anniversary, 40 years. So we're going to get a little bit into that. So come on in, come on in. If you have any questions, don't be shy. Please send us messages at Whitman Walker for any questions regarding testing or questions, COVID, vaccinations, whatever you guys need. Hit us up. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey. All right. So as you know, during the past few months, Whitman Walker's health community department has expanded its outreach efforts to social media platform, covering various topics of HIV, STI, sexual health practices, access to care, social determinants of health, and general public health interventions. The next series of outreach focus on current pandemic, COVID-19, ways to manage your sexual, personal, and mental health. Community health team is here to educate and support you. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. So as I mentioned earlier, we are honoring long-term survivors of HIV. So HIV Long-Term Survivors Day is actually June 5th. So that'll be in about a day or two. Today's 2 days. So HIV Long-Term Survivor Awareness Day, HALT-SAD, so it's just an abbreviation, HALT-SAD, is June 5th, 2021, on the 40th anniversary of the first 5 cases of AIDS that were reported in 1981. So let's start asking who is considered a long-term survivor of HIV. There are multiple definitions of an HIV long-term survivor. Oftentimes, people use the term long-term survivor to talk about the pre-HAART long-term survivors. HAART, HAART, or highly active antiviral therapy, came around in the 90s, and it transformed HIV from a deathly illness to a chronic condition. But pre-HAART long-term survivors acquired HIV before the advent of HAART, when an HIV diagnosis was still a death sentence. They spent their early adult lives believing they would die young and watch scores of friends die, the health condition which themselves were living. That kind of traumatic experience can leave a lasting mark on people's lives and affect mental and physical health, as well as financial stability and overall quality of life. 312,000 people living with HIV in the US became positive before 1996. That's 24% of all the 1.3 million living with HIV. Thank you guys. Come on in. We appreciate all of you. Other times, people use the term long-term survivor to talk about people who have been living with HIV for a long time, example, 10 years or so, but not necessarily before HAART was available. That's an important distinction. Post-HAART long-term survivors, or the ones that acquired HIV after effective treatment was accessible, have had a very different lived experience with the disease. Because people living with HIV can survive a long time, the percentage of older adults living with HIV is increasing in all regions of the world. Um, I will not that that will not that all long-term survivors are elderly. People now in their 20s and 30s who acquired HIV at birth or while they were very young have also lived with HIV for decades and may have experienced the loss of many loved ones due to the virus. So another group of long-term survivors that tends to be left out of the conversation are the HIV negative partners. companions, caretakers, community members, activists, frontline professional care providers who directly supported people living with HIV in the earlier days of the epidemic. Um, while the live will focus more on the people who have lived many years with the virus in their bodies, many HIV negative long term survivors have also experienced tremendous losses and have had their lives deeply affected by the epidemic. Now, let's ask, what are the unique, underappreciated problems affecting HIV long term survivors? So, ASS, just like it sounds, but it's abbreviation for AIDS Survivor Syndrome, is a term describing the psychological result of living through the most brutal years of the HIV pandemic pre-heart. Long-term survivors are especially vulnerable to AS, right? To the AIDS Survivor Syndrome. But anyone affected by HIV can develop it. Symptoms include anxiety, depression, irritability, flashes of anger, lack of future orientation, low self-esteem, self-worth, substance abuse, social withdrawal and isolation, and survivor's guilt. These symptoms are very similar to post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and may have comparisons that have been made between ASS or PTSD. As long as ASS long-term survivors of HIV have other unique health concerns, those include challenges with HIV treatment, especially with side effects. So treatment, fatigue, conditions related to inflammation, common comorbidities, including heart disease, hepatitis C, brain problems, and cancer, difficulties with long-term planning, including financial considerations, and difficulties with end-of-life planning. So this year, with the theme AIDS at 40, envisioning a future we never imagined, let's kick ass. So AS standing for AIDS Survivor Syndrome, we invite all HIV and AIDS long-term survivors to send us your unmet needs, issues, and challenges. It is up to us to set our action plan addressing the present day and future need, issues of challenges facing people living longest with HIV. So right now, as of 40 years of AIDS, priorities include improving quality of life for people aging with HIV or AIDS, demand universal treatment access to help end the HIV epidemic, is a message of undetectable equals untransmittable. So for those of you who have seen the U equals U, prioritize culturally aware mental health care, overcome the challenges of poverty, economic insecurities. A lot of people can't afford medication, don't have insurance, and it's super hard to get medicine. So when you see people like Whitman-Walker or The Walk, or, when you're donating for people who don't have access to health care, and they help, they find you, they find you doctors, they find you medicine. They try to get you on a treatment as soon as possible. So when you are being helpful in donating, make sure you do your research. Always, Whitman-Walker is definitely a place to come and get information. If you're not sure how, when, or what, please give us a message. So let's see. So, like we talked about, all the long-term survivors, back in the day, people weren't sure if they were going to make the next day. They saw their friends dying, or they didn't know what it was. You can imagine how that can affect someone's mental health, their physical health. Once they did start issuing medications and were able to, they weren't really sure what was going on. So I feel like they were trying to get some medicines out there. They were trying to shut people up because they didn't know what was happening. They thought putting medicine out there would kind of, stop people from talking or fighting. But no, it's not just about medicine. We have to do more to get this epidemic nipped in the butt. So let's kick ass. Let's help survivors know that we are here for them. As warriors, we are here to kick ass. So we invite anyone with stories, insight they've learned to please, reach out. We it's also up to us to set up our own agendas. We demand change. We have valuable lessons to teach our community and the world about living and survival. It's time to embrace our role as elders, teachers, and leaders that we need support and respect. So HaltSad is not a one-day event. It is a campaign all year. On June 5th, 1981, the CDC published the first report about the mysterious illness affecting young gay men. It was AIDS before it had a name. 40 years later, there's a sizable population of women and men living longest with HIV and AIDS who know much about surviving the AIDS pandemic. 25% of the 1.2 million people living with HIV in the US are long-term survivors. And that's over 300,000. So you can imagine. Super touchy subject for me, guys. I appreciate you guys. Give me a second. But yes, like I would say, I am a long-term survivor, and it's been more than a decade. And many of you might not know, I appreciate you all. But listening to this just reminds me how hard it was when I found out, how hard it was to tell. And you got to remember, you always know someone. You always know someone. You'll never know until you know. But again, be kind to each other. We appreciate you. And appreciate everybody, right? Give me a second, guys. I'm getting it together. Wherever you are, we align with you. We need you. We value you. You never know anyone's story until they decide to share it. So don't judge anyone. Don't accuse. Don't assume. Don't get into places where you're going to make someone feel bad, because at the end of the day, whether it's this or that or anything, we all have feelings. We appreciate you. But yes, so like listening to this, and I remember when I got into advocating for HIV and AIDS, I was actually getting out of high school, and I used to go to school and talk to kids about safe sex. And you always say, oh, well, it can't happen to me, can't happen to me. So when we appreciate, it happened, it was an accident, that, it is what it is. Lucky for all this new information that we have, I was able to get treated. I was undetectable in the first 2 months of starting medication, and I'm proud to say I've been undetectable for over 10 years. So it helps. It helps. And I remember going to these walks and trying to raise money for all these people who can't even get treatment because of society, because of work, because of money, greed. Like, come on, people. So do something. Talk about it. Make it an issue. Make it your issue. Because you don't know who's going through hardships. You don't know who's going through not being able to get treatment because of society, right? So I know I'm good. I have been doing what I need to do to survive, to dance, to love, to be who I am, and to help everyone else. I'm here. This is why I love Whitman-Walker, sharing information, being able to come and try to focus on finding a way to get to people who can't get information. So I'm glad they found me. I'm glad I can share my story. I'm glad I can share all this information with you guys. If I missed anything, like, please hit me up, or hit Whitman-Walker up about finding ways to get more informed, honoring our long-term survivors. And of course, don't forget, we're still going through a COVID-19 pandemic. If you do want to get vaccinated, there are a dozen or so walk-up sites through Washington, D.C., where you don't need an appointment. You can just go get your vaccine. If you want to get a vaccine at Whitman-Walker, call the 202-207-2480 or email appointments@whitman-walker.org. To schedule an appointment, we'll be registering people for the vaccine at our outreach events too. I was actually at the mall the other day, and they had a setup area asking people if they wanted to get vaccinated. So guys, it's happening. Everyone's able to get it. You can find it at your mall, at your anywhere you go. They could be actually offering it. So obviously be careful and make sure it's an accurate place. If you already got vaccinated, congratulations. The CDC has given you the okay to relax. Some of your mask wearing and return to some pre-pandemic activities. However, it's totally understandable why you might want to keep wearing your mask. The vaccine isn't 100% effective. There are no protocols in place to actually verify that folks around you are vaccinated. So you've probably gotten used to that. If you haven't been vaccinated, please continue following the CDC guidelines for mask wearing, quarantining, social distancing, and the like. It's very important that you get the vaccine, discuss COVID measures with those around you, be mindful of masks and keeping your distance, especially when you don't know if the person has been vaccinated or not. So remember to follow us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter at Whitman-Walker, and checking our website at Whitman-Walker, www.whitman-walker.org for the most up-to-date information on our services and for more COVID-19 resources and general Whitman-Walker services. Call us at 202-797-4439 for some of our program, and WH Family at Real Talk DC _ No Filter DC, and The Corner DC. So we appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in today. I will see you next week. Every Thursday, come and see me. With occasions, you might catch me on a Tuesday or Monday or whenever I'm needed. We appreciate you all. Have a great evening, and we will see you soon.